Hey fellow Terrarians, Uzi versus Megashark. I believe it's a good time to revisit these two weapons. 1.4 made some changes and it's really interesting to see how the two compare in different situations, right? So let's dive into it. Uzi can be acquired right upon entering hard mode by defeating by farming angry trappers like this guy, and it can be done in using a simple AFK farm. Let me know if you want one. And so Megashark on the other hand, the only way to obtain it, to craft it, after defeating the destroyer. Alright, so both weapons have their best modifier as Unreal, and if you notice here, Uzi has slightly higher base damage, while Megashark has a little bit higher rate of fire, even though both show as insanely fast, but Megashark actually has its quite a bit higher. Okay, so let's look at the base damage using Endless Musket Pouch. So this obviously not gonna represent every possible situation, but you know, if you want endless bullets, you don't have any other options, this is what happens. So single target, Megashark will give you about 600 plus damage per second. Yeah, easily. Okay, so no surprises here. And Uzi is more, I would say 500. Yeah, if we look at the overall of damage, yeah, 500 plus damage per second. So we're looking at 15 plus % damage difference. So obviously multiple targets. Megashark has no piercing by default, right? So it doesn't convert the bullets, unlike Uzi, which converts those into high velocity bullets. And you notice here that the damage is significantly higher, obviously because of the piercing effect, and now you're able to hit 3 targets instead of 1. So that is another important thing. So for basic crowd control, which is if you're using the musket pouch and endless bullets, you will have a significant advantage when using Uzi. So all around events and so on, you can actually have an edge. Now let's consider another thing though, that there are lots of different bullet options that are available, and you can actually craft high velocity bullets for Megashark as well. Okay, so we will compare that as well, but let's first focus. Now we'll look at mobs that have some defense. So unicorns in this case, they have 30 defense. So now we're looking at the base damage per second. So we see that Megashark averages around 400-ish, 450. Yeah, I would say around 450. Maybe actually a little lower, 400. Let's say 400. Yeah. And so if you compare to Uzi, all of a sudden the damage difference is not that huge anymore. So you almost start thinking, oh wait a second, the defense plays a key role here. So the higher the defense of the mob, the more advantage you get from higher base damage, obviously, because Uzi has higher base damage, right? So, and look at this, 4 unicorns in master mode, and you're able to pretty much face tank them, right? So you don't even need to move, obviously. But if you switch to normal bullets and Megashark, yeah, obviously there is no way. You will have to retreat. Okay, so let's give Megashark the actual, the real bullets. So high velocity bullets with Megashark, I would expect the same comparable scenario here. Okay, so right away we see, yes, so Megashark has a bit of an advantage. I would say about 10%. We can see it immediately, right? So the damage is there. The crowd control will test immediately, but let's just see. Yeah, of course. So when paired with high velocity bullets, both weapons will show pretty decent crowd control and single target as well, with Megashark leading by about 10%. Okay, so this is interesting, but keep in mind Megashark is obtainable post destroyer, right? So you need to defeat the destroyer first before you can use it, while Uzi is available right away. So another thing to consider is high velocity bullets are only available post max, so you need to get your steampunker first. So look at this. So now we originally, when testing versus dummies, we saw that the difference is like what, 15% or more, right, or higher. But as you actually face real mobs, you notice that the higher the enemy's defense is, the better Uzi performs. The gap closes. So at some point, I would assume somewhere about 40%, 40 base defense, it would equalize with Uzi starting to lead, right? So this is another very important point. So if you're facing tough mobs and mini bosses that have high defense, Uzi would actually outperform Megashark. So this is a very interesting. But I would say mobs that have very low defense and usually easy to defeat with either weapon, even though Megashark has an edge of like 10, 15 or even higher percent, it's I would say it's almost negligible, because you will, in every mode, including Master Mode, it's gonna be very easy. Alright guys, so what about bosses? What about Duke Fishron? Bosses that actually have high defense. Duke Fishron has 50, right? So it's a very good comparison now. If we pair both weapons with crystal bullets, see what happens. Okay, so Megashark first. And pardon my accuracy here. We're, you know, I'm looking for a good streak of uninterrupted aim. So maybe when we transition, when we move from edge to edge, let's see now. That'd be a good representation. Yeah. So we're looking at 400 plus, 400, I would say 50-ish, with using Megashark. Okay, so this is interesting. 450 per second. That's not a very good damage versus Duke Fishron and Master Mode, I'll tell you. But Uzi, hold on. Uzi is comparable actually. Hold on. This was not a good aim. I just want to try it again and see if we can achieve a similar aim. Yeah, now it's a good, and you can see it's about the same, actually sometimes even higher. Okay, so it's very interesting that versus high defense bosses and enemies, Uzi can actually take a lead, even though it's gonna be a small lead, obviously. And overall, if you go average over many different bosses and enemies, I would say Megashark would still have a 10% advantage using comparable bullets, of course. But this is very interesting, because we are looking at a very comparable damage versus bosses like Duke Fishron and high defense enemies, right? So in general, so what does it tell us? So it's quite remarkable that Uzi gives you free high velocity bullets by converting normal bullets into high velocity, and it is acquired. You can get it right away upon entering hard mode, and it's still can manage to perform comparably well versus bosses like Duke Fishron. So this tells us immediately that this weapon is worth looking into it, and I find it to be a good all-arounder, right? So the weapon that overall can be used effectively versus you know, invasions and events. It has a good crowd control. It has a little more spread. It's about 15%, but as you notice here, you don't really suffer too much from it, from this increased spread. Yeah, it's not like Megashark. Megashark has a lot smaller spread and easier to aim, but even at mid-range and even high range, Uzi is still pretty accurate, I would say, based on multiple tests performed by now. Alright, so we've done some basic tests, we've performed tests versus high defense enemies and also bosses. And so what's the conclusion, guys? So Megashark overall, I would say, still has, if you average across pretty much most bosses and events, would still give you a slight lead of 10% and sometimes even more based on situation, right? But given the availability of Uzi, early hard mode, and free high velocity bullets, piercing, and nice crowd control, I would say this weapon could be your main farmer up until you defeat mechanical bosses. Okay, so this would be a conclusion here. Both weapons are really great, and I think you would enjoy. I highly recommend, if you haven't tested Uzi yet, try it. It's a nice weapon. You will like it. Thank you for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video.